Yo, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? Good to see you again. And this video I know is going to be a very controversial topic because I know a lot of people have strong opinions on whether there should or should not even be bans or restrictions. And I just want to preface that before we hop into this, I personally don't, fully believe that every card on this list should be banned or should be restricted. I don't believe that maybe even all of them. There's definitely one or two that I think should 100% be touched, but I want to kind of keep it as neutral as possible. I want to just list potential cards, right? Cards that could possibly be on the list that we might see in March. And if you guys would like to give your comments down below, but keep it cordial, let me know whether you agree with this, whether we could see some of these or whether we shouldn't, or, whatnot. Now, there are a lot of cards on this list, so I want you to know that I don't expect every single one of these to be touched. I just, yet again, think that these are possibilities. These are some of the cards that maybe might be just a little too overtuned in the meta, or, potentially what we might see in the future. So, to start us off, I wanted to say that, yeah, the official list and this information will be presented at the World Championship in Japan on March 3rd. So yet again, this is all speculation. This isn't like, hey, we got him, we figured out what it was. This is all speculation, right? And these are cards that I believe could be on the list and not to be taken as every or any card that should be on the list, okay? Yet again, I just don't want you to be thinking that I think all of these cards should be banned, restricted, all that stuff. Nope, not what I'm trying to do. Just thinking of possibilities that we could see on there, whether that could be a restriction of some cards, bans of some cards, whatnot. We already know that this information is going to happen, though. So it was announced at the US national tournament. So, this is all just for fun right now, just to see what maybe we could potentially be hearing about on March 3rd. But to start us off, probably one of the most controversial cards, got to start it off hot, you know what I mean, is Big Mom, or Charlotte Linlin. The 10-drop Big Mom being one of those that, everybody's talked about whether it should be banned, should not be banned, maybe be restricted, shouldn't be restricted. Is it a problem? Is it not? It's tough to say, because from a standpoint of, not playing yellow as much, but playing into yellow very much, this card can be kind of a gatekeeper of some sorts. It does stop a lot of slower playing decks from being able to have a chance in the matchup, it feels like. But I do think that at the end of the day, a lot of the times when we as the community are kind of talking about how strong a card is, a lot of the solutions I hear people saying are, well, why not just leader lock it? Well, this is leader locked. This is leader locked, so it does kind of already fall into that, solution that a lot of people have provided. I do think that there is some merit in, a lot of people saying that, I don't believe the card should be banned, but it should be restricted. Just because, if you chain more than one of these in a row, it's really hard sometimes to get into the game. And I know I've heard a counter argument, well, if you're allowing your opponent to get to 10-drop Big Mom, then you're playing the matchup wrong. Well, it doesn't always work out that way. Yellow has a lot of triggers and opportunities that can make getting to 10 Mom very safe and easy. So it just doesn't always work out that way, that when you're trying to develop your board and you're able to attack, if you're not getting multiple life off, to get them to a really low point in the early stages of the game, it's this card can be pretty threatening. So would I say that it needs to be banned? No. Could it be restricted? Maybe. If it doesn't get touched, though, I don't think it's the end of the world. I think this card is, it is what it is. It's already leader locked. It's just the effect that is extremely strong. Being able to, not only put on a 12,000 power character onto the board, but simultaneously inch yourself closer to the win condition of the One Piece trading card game, and also prevent yourself from your opponent getting closer to the win condition. It's a 3-in-1 package that is absolutely outstanding. And you could argue that it's a 4-in-1 because when you put a card on top from the top of your deck, yellow has a lot of powerful triggers, so you could potentially end up getting something that realistically could win you the game. So very strong card, very controversial card, and yeah, had to start us off pretty hot right here. But I thought this was something that we could definitely potentially see on there. I'm not saying that it will be, but potentially. Now, Gecko Moria, 8-cost Gecko Moria. As many of you guys know that watch my channel, I am a huge fan of playing black in general. Massive fan. I love like Sakazuki. I played Smoker in the past. Loved Rob Luchi. I'm very excited about playing Gecko Moria in the next set, as well as Perona. And I'll be honest with you, I think this card is... I think it might be the card that gets banned, if I'm being honest. Yet again, just an opinion. I maybe, or speculation, I should say. I think that it might be the card that gets banned. If it doesn't, it's tough to errata a card like this, but I think that a solution would be to only allow this this character into leaders of the Thriller Bark type. However, that is difficult to do when the card has already been printed. I would love to hear y'all's opinions on that. I was talking to a friend of mine at Locals the other day, and he seems to think that it wouldn't be that bad, but I do think it's kind of tough for newer players coming into the game to not know that this card is leader locked, and because it doesn't say it on there. Now, his argument was, well, we've seen erratas in the past as far as like Nami and stuff. And by the way, you just shout out to my man Jacob. We had a good conversation about it, but I do think that we just see it a little differently. As far as Nami was concerned, right? They changed one simple text on the card that allowed you not to just pick up a character Straw Hat type card. It could pick up any Straw Hat type card. And I think that that's a little easier to, understand versus a floating invisible text on a card. So I do think that leader locking this would actually be a very nice solution. But if you restrict this card to 1, I feel as though it becomes in the mirror matchups or in matchups that used to be dependent on seeing this card, whoever sees it might end up winning the game or just be inherently ahead in the matchup. So I don't know. This one's a bit of a weird one for me. I think that it might get hit, and honestly, rightfully so. I think the card is insane. The amount of value you get off of 8 Dawn to be able to put down a 9,000 power character, as well as get 6 more Dawn worth of potential play, and that's 6 minimum. If you play a Rebecca, you're getting another potential 3 to 2 Dawn right off that. So there is it's an 8-cost play for 14 Dawn, and that's really good at the end of the day. Extremely good. I think that whenever you look at being able to cycle back in already used cards from the trash and have them back into the game, you're looking at a pretty solid card. And this is one of those that I'm not entirely sure how this would be remedied, other than probably banning the card or potentially errataing it. But I do think the errata solution is a little odd. I think it would be like best world, that would be perfect. It's just, you got to think about the future of the game and new players coming in. This is a weird one. Yeah, but yet again, I'd love to hear what you guys think, or if you have had experiences or seen something like this in a previous TCG. How would you, maybe compare this to something that was errata in another TCG, and was it successful? I'd love to hear, what you guys have to say, or what you think about this. And then, speaking of being able to bring cards back from the trash, we've got Rebecca. I know a lot of people were hating this card throughout OPO5. I do think this card was very strong for OPO5. It didn't have a ton of answers. It did have some, but it didn't have a ton for such a value. Like, you just get insane value out of this card. Now, in OPO6, I do think there are a lot more solutions to what this card presents as far as tempo is concerned. So personally speaking, I don't really see this card being touched. Just yet again, speculating. I don't really see the card being touched. I don't think it's as bad as some might make it out to be. I do think it's in the top end of some of the best cards in the game, but I don't think that it is, I don't think it is enough to warrant a ban or a restriction. I could be wrong. I guess we'll see. It is a force to be reckoned with. It really is what keeps Sakazuki's cycle going, and gets that engine just running, and doing everything that it possibly can. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I think that this card was initially supposed to be designed around the blue-black Rebecca list. So I think that they just kind of missed the mark and realized, oh shoot, so is this one that we could potentially see an errata, to be leader locked again? I would hope not. I don't think the invisible text of something like that is really the best way to go. But yeah, this is another one that yet again could potentially see some form of adjustment with this upcoming ban and restriction list. And we also have Rob Luchi. I don't think this card's going to get touched. I don't think this card's that big of an issue. It's very strong. It's very powerful. However, placing 3 cards from your trash to the bottom of the deck, I've played multiple games with Sakazuki that I couldn't even pull off Rob Luchi because I didn't have enough cards in trash, by turn 3 or 4 or something like that, because I had already had to do something that returned cards or did this, that, and the other. And in decks like Gecko Moria, you have a lot of stuff like Absalom, as well as Dr. Hogback, that are returning cards from your trash already. So being able to have 3 can present its own challenges sometimes. I'm not saying it's the hardest thing to do, because it's really not, but it does have, that going for it. Also, for a 4 cost, not every deck is going to be able to synergize with, being able to KO a 2 cost or a 1 cost like Sakazuki can. Sakazuki just has a lot of opportunities to be able to make this card shine. I also don't think that this card would be even... Maybe it would be. I'm not sure. I don't know if it would be relevant in Gecko Moria if the 8 cost did get banned or restricted, but it might be. I think that this card is kind of like it's strong, but, I think if there's any complaints about this, it's maybe the stat line. I think maybe 6K stat line was pretty strong. Maybe making it a 5 probably would have been okay, just because it can remove 2 from the board. But I don't know. I don't see this one getting touched personally, but we'll see. I guess we'll see on this one. Capone Be. This is a hot take on my part, but I personally think this card should be banned. That's me. A hot take. I know that there's gonna be some hate in the comments for that one, but let me give you my reasons why. I think this is a bad card for... I think it's just a bad card in general for the future of the game. Yellow has a lot of these triggers that are basically kind of reliant on RNG. Like, they're slowly starting to add cards that are making it, you know, more you can design what comes out of your life so that you're playing, you know, rather than in the dark and just hoping for the best out of your life. You actually are playing with information that you designed. And I think that that's good. However, this card is just kind of I can't tell you how many events I've seen this card win simply because of being the last life. And, you know, I know all the arguments are like, well, you know, play around it. Yeah, well, the tough part about that is, you know, like, you got to expect, you know, if they have it, then so you play smart and you do this. Well, you have to understand that when you are playing against yellow, you're thinking about 10 different triggers. You know, like, can they get a blocker? Can they get Beige? Can they get Thunderbolt, Onami? Can they get Kikunojo so they have an extra attack? Perospero, Satori, Amaru so they can heal twice. It's not realistic to have to try and play around every single one of those, like, survival tactics that yellow has. And, you know, that's so tough. That's so tough. I do think that this is just, I think it's inherently bad for the future of the game. I would much prefer to see this card just get banned. It's not a massive blow to yellow if it does. It's honestly a pretty silly card, all things considered. Yeah, so, like, if yellow lost Capone Beige, they'd still be eating good. They'd be eating just fine. This card is not that important. There's plenty of 2K counters that are coming out as well that are viable and as well can be searched through, you know, card types, archetypes. So this is one that I think I just have a personal opinion on. But yet again, I want to keep it. I want to keep it civil in the comments. It's just a personal opinion. I think that for the future of the game, it's a bad card, but we'll see. Onami is something that I've seen a lot of people talking about. I've actually talked about this myself. I personally think that I'm just disappointed this card was made into yellow, because what are the answers to yellow in a lot of ways? To be able to stop triggers, Banish would be a fantastic tactic. Being able to have that on your cards and use Banish to stop, you know, a potential trigger that your opponent either set up or that they didn't set up, and you're just like, I don't want them to have what's next. Like, get rid of that card, bye, right? I think it was a bit of a shame that this went into yellow versus other colors. I would have liked to see this in literally any other color, just because it does give some sort of solution. I think for its cost, it's an absolutely insane card. 2 cost to be able to give a leader or a character. I mean, I feel as though it should have just been characters, if anything, but leader or a character banished for this turn is extremely powerful. Obviously, I think that what they were looking to do with this card was to put it, or to make it useful for Yamato, and that's totally understandable. Double attack banish is ridiculous, so it's pretty crazy. I just think that having this card with a 1K counter, Straw Hat Crew, which is one of the most searchable archetypes as far as, like, if you start to get into multicolor leaders as well, and then having a trigger that's like Thunderbolt, so you don't even have to run Thunderbolt. You got a 1K counter Thunderbolt that gives a character or a leader banish. It's really, really, really good. Do I think it's going to get hit? Probably not, if I'm being honest. Probably not. Do I think the card's absurd? Absolutely. It is totally absurd. This card is crazy. I genuinely hope that for the future, though, that we end up seeing maybe similar cards to this, if not the exact same printed version, but with just a different trigger in every single card, or color, excuse me. I hope that we see it in every single color, if this is going to remain. But I don't think this will be hit. As far as bans and restrictions are concerned, I doubt it. I really doubt it. But this card sucks, man. I hate it. It's really good. Yeah, but moving on to the next one, we have Reject. Now, I don't think I can give like a great opinion on whether this card should or shouldn't be touched, just because, yet again, I don't play yellow very much. From the standpoint, though, of playing against yellow, it's kind of crazy how much in OPO6 they're rewarding yellow decks in particular with a lot of cards that are they're rewarding a lot of cards that are being printed for yellow playing the game and then punishing your opponent for playing the game. So for example, in this card you have an option of either KOing a 5-cost or lower, and you also have another option of if your opponent has 1 life, you can deal 1 damage and then add the top card to your life, or excuse me, from your life to your hand, right? So you do end up taking a life, but you get to deal that final damage to them. And, you know, if your opponent, let's say, like has 1 blocker, you know, and you have Big Mom on board and Leader Swing, you can pay 4 Dawn to get rid of that last life. And now you have a 12k swing that they're almost guaranteed to block, because, I mean, to get out of a 12k swing at the end of a game, I'm not saying it's impossible, but it is tough. It's very tough, you know, so you rely on having that last life, that last blocker. So this is strong, man. Like early stages of the game, just being able to remove important 5-cost or lower characters, and then late stages of the game, closing out the match for a very cheap and effective cost. The combinations of being able to use this and then get down to a 1 life spread of your own, and then use combination of the 2 million volts Amaru is wild. It's wild. It's a very, very strong card. I think if anything, this does have potential of seeing either a ban or a restriction. I'm not too certain as to which one it would be, but I think it does have potential. Yeah, I think it's very punishing to play the game sometimes when you're playing against yellow, because you're kind of damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. It's like, if you take life, go down to 0, great, I'm at 0, you know, now your cards might not have as much effect, but, you know, now we can use Reject to kill a blocker, Amaru to rest another one. You know, Onami comes out of trigger and KOs the other blocker, and then it's like, dude, what do you do? You know, it feels a little inconsistent with, I think, how they want the game to progress. But, you know, and I don't blame anybody, by the way. I do not blame anybody that's playing yellow in OPO6, because the cards are solid. They are super solid. Yellow is very strong. And I think we're only going to see it potentially get stronger through upgrades in EBO1 as well as OPO7. So I don't know. I'm not entirely sure. I think we're going to see with these ban lists and restrictions where they want to take some of these. And going into 2 million volts Amaru as well, I wanted to talk about these two in particular, because, you know, a lot of times where, you know, the 0-cost event that you can trash a card and gain plus 3,000 power, they made that for every single color, right? So they have like some of these events that they basically just want to replicate the effect and make it so that every single color has it. And I think that's a great way to do it. Obviously not every event, but they want to have some that are just very similar, and, you know, every color has this at their disposal. Well, this seems like something that they're trying to do as well with the 2-cost plus 3,000 power. I don't think that 2-cost plus 3,000 power is really the problem with these cards. I think that it's the fact that it gets more than that. I think Hound Blaze should definitely be hit. I think Hound Blaze is an absolutely insane card. It's the value this card provides is almost like, it's almost unbeatable. But to be able for 2 costs to go up 3,000. So you're already up 1 Dawn. You've already succeeded in playing a card that gave you value. And then playing bottom decking a 2 cost or less on top of that, it's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. And there's no restrictions, at least in 2 million volts Amaru, or 200 million, whatever. At least in Amaru, there is a restriction, and that's why I do think that there is some merit to say that that card is a little more balanced than Hound Blaze. I think Hound Blaze is just inherently an unbelievable card. Unbelievable. Card should not be that good. So I do see Hound Blaze getting hit. Or I would like to see. I think that Hound Blaze is a bit of a problem, if I'm being honest with you. So I'm not sure whether I would like to see it banned or restricted, but regardless, I think something should be done to the card because it is very overtuned. It is very strong, and it really shouldn't be that way. 200 million volts Amaru, though, as far as the plus 3,000, and you are restricted to only being able to use the second portion of the card. If you are at 1 life card or less, you can rest an opponent's 4 cost, right? Now, it's not extremely hard to get to 1 life now, especially if you're playing Enel. I think the card was designed around Enel, but, you know, with Katakuri, previously in OPO5, you could use Thunderbolt to get down to 1 life, and then use this card to rest the final blocker. So there was a lot of like sneaky things you could do to get there, and there still are plenty with a lot of, you know, what yellow has going on right now. It's really interesting. I like the idea that they were going for. I do think that 2 cost is maybe just a little too low for the plus 3,000 power and a second bonus. I don't know. I think that I wouldn't be shocked if they kind of scrap the design of, you know, these cards maybe in the future and just saying like, hey, we're just going to nip it in the bud right now. We were going for something here and we're going to stop. So I would not be surprised if that happens. And then they don't continue making these cards for the other colors. And they just kind of go, yep, we're done. Got it. But yet again, speculation. And now this is the last one. This is by the way, this is like real deep dive speculation. Like, I don't think that this is gonna happen, but I'm just saying what if. Okay, now the reason I'm saying what if is because Curly Dodon was announced for OPO7. It has the same stat line, it has the same counter. Okay, now what if they're making this new Curly Dodon as a replacement for the old Curly Dodon? They're banning the old one and putting in this new one to maybe try and make it a little more balanced, right? Like the old one, there were problems because you were able to just, you know, red was dominant and it was doing everything. It was doing God's work. It was crazy, right? Well, this new one is now on play. Trash 1 card from your hand. Look at the top 5 of your deck. Reveal and add 1 card with a power of 2,000 or less to your hand. Then return the rest of the cards to the bottom of the deck. So you have to trash 1, right? It makes it so that there's a cost, and then you get to search something 2,000 or less. This is great for Red-Green Law because they get to find Bonnie. Curly Dodon previously didn't find Bonnie. Now this does. Do I think that the old Curly will get hit? Probably not. I'm going to be honest with you. I was going like deep into the deep into the void of my brain. And like, oh wait, this new card might be a replacement for the old one. I just thought it would be a funny way to end this off. Just because I don't know. It could happen. It could happen. I don't know. But I did think it was kind of funny. And yeah, and that's it, guys. I just wanted to talk about some of those, you know, and a lot of the cards that were going on, you know, that I believe others have been talking about as far as, you know, what they speculate we could see on the list, maybe what we won't see on the list. There's a lot of cards that I didn't put on here as well that other people have been talking about. So is there something on here that I missed that you believe should be hit on the ban restriction list? I'd love to hear it. But yet again, I want to keep the comments cordial on this one. I know it's a hot topic. I know there's going to be a lot of people feeling some type of way about, you know, their color being hit or this, that, and the other. Hey, I hear you. I play black, and I still think I love Sakazuki, right? I still think that Hound Blaze, Gecko Moria, stuff like that should be hit. Like, those cards are way too good. They are way too strong. They're making, you know, decks in this meta overly powerful. Way too powerful. So it's worth mentioning, but let's all just keep it cordial. Love to hear what you think. And yeah, if you guys enjoyed the video, I never really say this towards the end of a video, but just leave a like, subscribe, man. Got a lot of fun stuff coming up soon. I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.